Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're making steak quesadillas. And we're starting with the marinade. Recently, one of my friends asked me about marinades, and they're like, how do you make a marinade without a marinade? And I was like, I'm very lazy, and I'm a bad friend, so I'm not going to address that right now. A marinade requires 5 things: salt, fat, acid, seasoning, and thyme. That's it. They're all necessary though. So I'm starting with a gallon bag. You can use a bowl if you prefer. And into that bag I'm pouring 3/4 a cup of orange juice. I looked up a lot of different recipes for this. All of them agree on the core ingredients. You've got orange juice, you've got lime juice, you've got some sort of pepper with heat, and you've got various seasonings in different amounts, and usually in oil. This is our flap steak. It's kind of a tough bit of meat. The idea is you soak it in the marinade, the salt and the acid break down some of those proteins, make it a little less chewy. As always, I'm going to go ahead and roll my limes. Once we've got our limes cut up, we're just going to squeeze our lime juice right in with our orange juice. Now, I freshly squeezed that orange juice. You don't need to. You can probably buy bottled. Okay, next we're adding a 1/3 cup of soy sauce. That's going to add some salt and a little bit of funk. Then we're going to add in 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Now, some of these do use olive oil, and you could add extra virgin olive oil if you want. I think that that's going to add a different flavor than just using a neutral oil, so that's why I'm using this. If you don't want the oil flavor, go neutral. Now we need our seasoning, so I'm going to start by chopping up 2 serrano peppers. This is more of a quick mince, but I'm cutting out the cores on one of them. I don't want this too spicy later. Remember kids, the spice lives in the core, not in the seeds. The seeds have the spice because they came from the core. I've cut up the serrano peppers and I'm ready to crush my garlic, so I'm going to do that too. A lot of these recipes call for mincing the garlic rather than crushing it. In fact, almost all of them do. None of them say crush the garlic. I'm a big believer in crushing garlic rather than mincing. I think that it gets you more garlic per garlic, if that makes sense. There are some applications for which I will mince, but oftentimes I feel like crushing is, 1, faster, and 2, it exposes more of the inside part of the garlic that has all that garlic oil on it. Anyway, we're gathering everybody up and we're dumping them in. Okay, I'm also going to chop up a bunch of cilantro and add that. And once you've chopped it up, you can just chuck it right in. Okay, now we're adding 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1/2 tablespoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon onion powder, 1 teaspoon salt, and 1 teaspoon black pepper, freshly ground if you can. Now I'm going to shake it up. Make sure the bag is in fact closed when you do this. Now I've got about 1 pound of flank steak here. It's labeled fajita flap in the Korean market across the street. And I'm using this for quesadillas tomorrow, like I said earlier. This recipe should be good for 2 pounds of meat. You're going to stick this in the fridge for anywhere between 4 and 24 hours. Longer is usually better. I'll probably be here in more like 15 or 18 hours to make my lunchtime quesadillas. Before we can cook up our meat, we need to make a quick salsa to go with this. I'm making a corn salsa. You can make a traditional tomato salsa if you want. To do that, I've got 1/2 a red pepper diced. I've got a minced serrano pepper. I've got some minced garlic. That's 3 cloves. And I've got a bunch of decently chopped up cilantro. That's 2 cups of corn. We'll see if we use it all. I've had this pan going under medium heat for a little while till the oil is shimmering. And I'm going to drop in my onions. Once my onions start shimmering, I'm going to go ahead and add my serrano pepper and a little pinch of salt. Okay, that was kind of a big pinch of salt. That's fine. Once the corn's in there, it'll be okay. Okay, now I'm just going to pour my corn in. And my garlic. Now, I used frozen corn, so it's going to take a little while for it to warm up and then cook. So just keep that in mind. I went ahead and threw half my cilantro in. And now we're going to go ahead and add the juice of half a lime. Now that it seems like everything's heated through, I'm transferring it off the heat, letting it cool down a little bit, and I'm going to focus my attention on the meat. Okay, I've got my cast iron ready. The oil was heated over medium, and I'm ready to start adding my steak. We're going for medium rare to medium with this, because flap steak, if you try to cook it rare, it's just going to be gross. You're just going to watch this cook. Don't rush it. Sometimes the good things in life take a little time. Once you've made progress with one, feel free to flip it and add another one. You can always flip it back later. If you start to feel like there's too much marinade in the pan, you can go ahead and drain some off. I like to wait till it gets just a little bit of color in it, and then I pull it. Remember, you can use a meat thermometer. Once everybody's done, you're ready to carve. Now remember, you're going against the grain. You can clearly see the grain going in this direction. You're going to go against the grain, like that. Now, obviously, if you want bite-sized chunks, you're going to have to cut across the grain eventually. You just want to make sure that if you're doing chunks that aren't totally square, that you make more cuts against the grain than with the grain. If you're doing fajitas with this, which this would be good for fajitas, then go with strips. Go against the grain. And now we're ready to begin constructing our quesadillas. I have to use these gluten-free tortillas. I would recommend getting the biggest tortilla you can find. If you're on the gluten-free train with me, make sure you use a gluten-free soy sauce. I'm going to start with a big handful of cheese. This is a mixture of freshly grated Monterey Jack and cheddar. And you're going to want to spread that all over. While I'm doing this, I'm going to set my cast iron back to medium. I wiped this out in between. I recommend you do the same. Now, you're going to want to fill this more than it's going to want to take. Don't. Put a little corn salsa on top. Give it a fold over. See, this is already kind of pushing it. Okay, once our oil is shimmering, go ahead, drop this in. Now you can do two at once. I don't because I'm bad at it. You can always flip it again if it's not brown enough in some places, but you can't unflip it if it's blackened. So if you've never done it before, time it in a way where you don't burn things, or so you learn it. It's going to be different depending on a lot of factors. Okay, pull it when it looks done. Gluten-free tortillas do seem like it takes them a little longer to get crisp. So you're treading that line between burning them and not. It's one of those things there is a slight learning curve to. Just do your best with it. Again, timing is going to depend on factors. That side's pretty good. These factors include 1, what your tortilla is actually made of. 2, I don't know, how hot your skillet is. 3, your oven. I don't know, man. There's a lot of factors. I think I'm going to put that down a little bit more. Now we're ready to serve. You could just serve it like this, but I prefer to try to make it look a little bit more bougie than that. Once you're done, arrange it on a plate. Put a little bowl for dipping sauces in the middle. Here I've got some sour cream and some more of my corn salsa. And you're ready to get eaten. Me and these quesadillas need to go get to know each other. So leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next Wednesday.